Good evening and welcome to the regular council meeting for Wednesday, August 5th, 2026. We respectfully acknowledge that the land on which we gather and work is on the unceded traditional territory of the Comox First Nation, the traditional keepers of this land. There are no introduction or approval of late items, so I will get a motion to adopt the agenda, please.
Moved.
Moved and seconded. Any questions or comments on the agenda? All those in favor? Opposed? And that passes unanimously. Thank you. We are having one delegation this evening. There will not be a delegation from Thomas Hart for 721 Lazo Road. So with that, we have Kim Hall from Indigenous Women Sharing Society to discuss with us the Comox Valley Substance Use Strategy Collaboration and Funding Request. So welcome to Okay, so what we'll do is we'll just move forward and then just let me know when she does pop on. We can go back to the delegation. Thank you. Okay, so we're moving along to adoption of meeting minutes. On page 12, we have minutes for July 8th, 2026 for adoption.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any questions or comments on July 8th regular council meeting? All those in favor? Opposed? And that passes unanimously. On page 19, we have adoption of the special council meeting minutes held in council chambers on July 12th for adoption.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any questions or comments on July 12th? All those in favor? Opposed? And that passes unanimously. We are on page 20. We have Nautical Days Festival Committee meeting minutes for June 4th, 2026 for receipt.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any questions or comments on June 24th meeting? All those in favor? Opposed? And that passes. Thank you. We have Nautical Days Festival Committee meeting minutes for July 15th, 2026 for receipt.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any questions or comments for July 15th? All those in favor? Opposed? And those pass. And lastly, we have Nautical Days Festival Committee meeting minutes for July 22nd for receipt.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any questions or comments on that? All those in favor? Opposed? And that passes unanimously. And I will just take the opportunity now to thank Councillor Chris Hazlitt and Councillor Jonathan Kerr for the very successful 3 days that we saw of Nautical Days, and the many, many volunteers, including Bob, who's here, and the committee members. It looked like it was a really great success over the 3 days, and I've only heard really positive feedback so far. So thanks to our 2 council members who do a lot of work leading up to Nautical Days. It's greatly appreciated. And also thank you to Councillor Swift, who is on the Philberg board. That was also a really great 3-day event, and we can talk about that near the end of the meeting when we debrief the great work that was done recently. Just checking with staff, any delegation update? Okay, thank you. So we are on page 26. We will move the consent agenda items 1 through 9. Moved and seconded. Just a reminder to use your mics if possible, please. All those in favor? And those items are moved. And now items to be pulled individually. Councillor Grant.
Could I pull out number 1? Second.
Number 1, that's for Pritchard Road Neighborhood Association road safety concerns. Go ahead.
Yeah. So the reason I'm pulling this out is that that particular intersection that they're talking about on Guthrie and Pritchard has come up, I'm going to say 8 times in my time here. It comes up often, and we usually send it to our traffic safety people, and they come back and say this isn't the right time to be doing it. It needs to wait. Now, with the base and all that coming out, I guess my question would be to Shelley is that, do you see this coming back to us at some time? And what is it that we could actually do that would be reasonable in that intersection when we do finally do something with it?
Just going to go to CAO Wall, and then he can direct to Director Ashfield if he likes. Director Ashfield.
Great, thank you. At that intersection, we had a transportation study done in 2011, and then it was updated in 2020. And that intersection was looked at both those times, and the recommendation from the traffic engineers is that it's working at its safest at the four-way stop that's there today, and putting the traffic lights actually causes higher risks for safety and bigger collisions, bigger injuries as well. So we have our next transportation plan update scheduled and be in the financial plan for 2028. So we can take a second look at that as volumes increase, density increases. The primary goal that would be great in that location is a roundabout, because that also is safer than traffic lights as well. Traffic lights is usually the third option that would be recommended by the traffic engineers, but we'll have a review of that again in 2028.
Perfect, thank you.
Thank you. Just a quick follow-up to Director Ashfield. Do we have any estimates on what the cost of a roundabout in that location would be, with kind of where our land survey is for that corner?
We haven't moved forward with a concept plan or a design, because I believe at that location, we would definitely need additional land. That's the con with the roundabout, is it doesn't cost as much to maintain and operate it, but you do need additional land that we probably have to purchase. So if it looks like improvements need to be done, we'll probably move forward with a concept plan and figure out what additional lands that are needed in that area.
Thank you. That's helpful to know for future. Okay, is there any further comments on number 1 before we move on? Okay, Councillor Swift.
Thank you. I wanted to pull out letters 3, 4, and 5. They all relate to Matt Lang Park.
Okay.
Okay, thank you. I know 2 of the letters are from the neighborhood, and I know they're concerned about access and safety and emergency in the event of an emergency. And I'm just wondering if our CAO could talk a little bit about what we're thinking. And I know there was also concern that there might be some, I guess, gatherings down on the park.
Yeah, thank you. When it comes to access, we do have access on both ends. This would remove, the subdivision plan does remove one of the accesses that would be in the middle. This is intended as a low impact nature use park, so we're not anticipating major injuries. And I would say it's similar to what you would have in the Pritchard area in the woods in there, right? It's limited access, but you can still get in there if you need to. So I don't think it's a level of concern that's any different than we have in some of the other areas. And your second question regarding the use of the park, it is intended to be a nature park. So we will not be, or we have no plans right now to allow renting out of anything, to allow parties or programs. We have the Philberg right next to there, which does facilitate those different things, including weddings. So it is our intention at this point, and the direction that we have from council when we purchase this is to leave it as a nature park.
Thank you. And then just one other concern regarding Matt Lang Park was the daycare's use of the park. And I've actually witnessed some daycares down there and the kids swinging from the trees and thinking, wow. So I'm just wondering if it would be prudent to just send out a reminder to the daycares about the treatments of the parks and appropriate behavior.
Yeah, and that's been completed already. We know that there's one program that regularly uses that, and we have sent that message to remind them on how to enjoy it responsibly. We do know that other daycares take trips there. Those are sort of harder to deal with because we don't know who they are. I believe that the letter was referencing the group which we know and we've talked to, and we've got a good relationship with them. So I'm hopeful that we'll see that level of interference with nature decrease.
Thank you. And sorry if I missed it, but you also did meet with 2 or at least 2 of the 3 letters there in person, since those letters went in to kind of go over some of the park plans in person. So that was great. Thank you. Other items for removal, Councillor Mayer.
I'd like to pull out number 8, access from Anderton to Hector Road.
Second.
Thanks. Just a question to staff. Is there anything that staff are able to do to help facilitate better communication between the developer and the neighborhood?
I think that the neighborhood has a couple of whether they're official or unofficial spokespeople, what I can do is talk to High Street and Broad Street and recommend that they start to do regular check-ins and information deliveries to those individuals. And hopefully that'll help disseminate information and provide heads up to people so things aren't so much of a surprise.
Great, thank you.
And just to follow up on that, while we're on number 8, we have not heard back from the Ministry of Transportation and Transit on whether they would consider allowing us to do a temporary pathway along or a safer walk on Anderton.
Informally, I've had conversations with their staff. I was told that we would be getting a formal letter. I had anticipated that coming in last week, but it's not here yet.
Okay, so we'll have that sent out to all council when something comes in, and we'll be hopeful there's something there. Any further discussion on number 8? Okay, are there any other consent agenda items that would like to be pulled out for discussion? Okay, with that, we'll move on to unfinished business. We have a CAO presentation on the 4-year review and highlights, so we'll just give CAO Wall a moment to get organized. Welcome, CAO Wall.
Thank you. Okay, council, you're coming to the end of your 4-year term, one marked by smooth sailings and a lack of controversy. No, it's not working. Can you click on the PowerPoint, Cami? Okay, we'll have to go, actually, I would really like to get control, but that is not gonna happen. Okay. Yeah, so 4 years, and I thought it would be worth coming to the end of the 4-year term. We don't have many regular council meetings left to talk about what has been accomplished and what council has navigated through these past 4 years. When we first came in, council, you inherited an organization that was, to be honest, it was in trouble. I think our first conversations that we had were around the struggle that the town of Comox was facing to continue to provide even the basic levels of services. And so we took an approach to try and make sure that we could stabilize the organization and start to put in place those fundamental building blocks and working with the community and how the town was going to develop. So, Cami, if I just point at you, I'll get you to click through. So out of your strategic plan, a number of things have been done. We've looked at renewing infrastructure, the downtown economics. We've wanted to make sure that we can continue to provide strong public safety out of our fire department. And we've had to take a look at some really what appeared at the beginning to be bleak fiscal realities and try and bring them into a state where things start to become sustainable and to modernize our organization. So next, yeah. So over the term of your council, we have made a massive investment into our infrastructure. So what have you guys done? You have been to 124 council meetings. Those council meetings have comprised 21,000 pages. And knowing how studious you all are, I know not a single page was missed. We have taken on 11 major engagement projects. So that was one of the areas that we wanted to make sure that we were doing, was to connect with the community and start to build those types of plans. So our urban forest management plan, our parks and trails master plan, our OCP, our zoning, our subdivision servicing, these all took place with detailed in-person meetings. So we had almost 50 hours of counted in-person engagements that we did throughout this term. We've replaced over 7 kilometers of road. We've added or replaced 5 kilometers of sidewalk. You can see our storm sewer, sanitary, and water main. So we have been going and replacing infrastructure that was put in the 1960s, and we've discovered really interesting things that we've done that. We have discovered rocks in roads that shouldn't have rocks. We have discovered pipes with trees growing in them that should not have trees growing in them. But what we've done is we've gone in, and because of the work that we have from Craig Perry and Shirley Ashfield, what we do every time before we pave a road is we go in and we take a look at the in-ground infrastructure. How does our water look? How does our sewer look? If we're going to touch a road, we need to make sure that our in-ground infrastructure is projected to last for the entire length and lifespan of that road, so we're not constantly ripping things up. And so what we've done over the course of your term is $52 million in capital investment. This is a capital investment rate that is about 4 times higher than previous councils. So we are trying to catch up and replace the aging infrastructure that we have, and it is working. We are starting to see less water main breaks. We're starting to see less flooding, and we need to continue on that path because we know that we have infrastructure in the ground that is well past its lifespan. Roundabouts. I'll be honest, one of the biggest, Shelley Ashfield had to calm me down many times about the roundabouts. I was terrified how they were going to be received by the community, but getting them in and seeing how Comox has adopted them and the increased safety that we have in those areas and the increased flow of traffic, I'm really happy to say that they have been there. And I think that the people that were concerned about the roundabouts before they come in, we don't hear anything. I think people have recognized the benefit of them. And in our next transportation master plan, if we look for a roundabout at Pritchard and Guthrie, I think the community would understand the benefits because of the ones that we have in here. We've added some major community assets. You can see the Marine Services building there. The Marine Services building is something that we built. We brought in $1.6 million of grant money to do that. We got a grant from the provincial government Economic Development Fund. We also got money in from ICE-T. So we were able to make those improvement. We've replaced our ladder truck. Our marina, I remember a story of our late mayor, Russ Arnott, talking to me about the state that the marina was at and that he had been down at the marina and his foot had gone through the docks. The amount of investment that we've done to upgrade this has brought it into something that's greatly increased safety. And we do not have electrical infrastructure that there anymore that was a big risk of surge and fire. So we've done a lot of improvements down there. We've constructed the Lazo multi-green pathway. We'll talk about accessibility a little bit later, but I mean, you look at the gem of Marina Park, it is inconceivable to me when people tell me that just 10 years ago, that park was almost unused. It is the destination in Comox now. And so when we built that destination, one of the things that we wanted to do was trying to connect. Oh, there you guys are. Another thing that we were able to do is we've opened up the marina to the public once again. And so we're working with the BIA and the provincial government to continue to enhance economic development opportunities down there. And we're looking to try and commercialize some of those spaces so that we can sort of mimic what Campbell River has, where their marina is also an economic development driver. And we have come a long way to achieving that goal. Gord's Fire Station. That is not there anymore. It's down. The old fire station is down. We've moved forward on these legacy projects that have been here and needed to get done for a long time. Council, you've entered into agreements with Habitat for Humanity on the old fire hall site in order to try and bring some affordable housing. The community center, this was probably one of the biggest hits. It's sometimes you do a project and it's completely under the radar. The infrared saunas, I can't even remember how many positive comments we had from adding the infrared saunas into the community center. People have really liked it. And this is what I wanted to talk about in the work that we've done with the marina. So the first step was to get people to the marina, and that's done. People are coming. What we wanted to do from there is we wanted to get the people that are coming from the marina and get them into our downtown, right? We called that the green-blue connection. So partnering with the BIA, what have we done? We have created lighted paths going all the way from the Marina Park up into the downtown. And you can see the picture with the Connect 4 there. We have turned what is a borrowed space for us right now. And I think it's very important that people recognize that we do not own this. We are borrowing it, and we've turned it into a town square that the BIA has used to do their Float Your Boat Fridays. We have concerts going on. We have families coming and sitting there. We have people parking themselves in our downtown, which was the goal that council had at the start of this term. It is happening and it is successful. Another major item, we know that we are landlocked. The ability for Comox to have land, we don't. The ability for us to expand is very difficult. So we have to make better use of what we have. And so the same way I say it, it's inconceivable for me to picture Marina Park not being used. Community center is going to be that. When I got here, I remember the community center field was overgrown for almost the entire summer and never used. It is one of our busiest places right now with the pop-up parks done by Robbie and our parks department, and it's continuing to span onto there. We've got a volleyball program that is setting up grass volleyball every Wednesday. We've got the farmers market, which was a goal of council that's established there. And so it's just really, really good to see the investments that we've done being used by the community. That was one of the scariest graphs that I showed council at the start of your term. And what that showed is that if we continued doing what we had been doing, we were going to be out of money by 2037, and we would be $140 million in debt by 2050. So what have we done since then? One, we have instituted the Infrastructure Renewal Fund to make sure that we have the money to replace the infrastructure that's aging. And two, council, since your start of your term, you have added 0 new infrastructure without also adding the revenue to replace it. So again, it's stopping the bleeding. Every time you have added infrastructure, you have increased taxes to pay for that infrastructure's replacement, so we don't continue to build up that debt for future generations. And so this was the picture going into this term. We're working on what the next one looks like. It's going to be a rosier picture than this, but it's also a little bit scary because all of these numbers were pre-COVID. We know construction costs have gone up 20 to 40% since then, so we'll have to take a look and manage all of it. But what I can say is, without council taking a very unpopular decision and saying, hey, we need to do a fairly significant tax increase, we would be in big financial trouble right now. We were almost in big financial trouble just to fund the fire station replacement. Can you go to the next slide? But you have over your term received $30 million in grants. It has been an amazing term for bringing in revenue. So we've got $1.6 million for the Marine Services building, which I talked about. We brought in $3.8 million for the Housing Accelerator Fund. And I think what's important to understand that's maybe not well understood out in the community, that $3.8 million has nothing to do with building permits. It has nothing to do with the zoning that was issued. That is the money that we got from the federal government for completing the work in our subdivision servicing bylaw, our zoning bylaws, completing our OCP. This money is not tied towards the production of units. We've just received $5 million for a fire hall reconstruction. That is both the Housing Accelerator Fund and the fire hall reconstruction grant that we got are the envy of the Valley. One of the reasons that we were able to get this, the fire hall reconstruction, is because of the strong partnerships that our fire department and Gord especially has built out into the region and supplying fire protection to IR1 and KFN, to having a strong relationship with the fire protection district in the electoral areas. We have moved towards reducing our greenhouse gas emissions, our $400,000 for the net zero improvements on the community center. Gord has a report later on in this agenda to try and add additional solar power to the newly built or to be built fire hall and the Lazo Greenway. A major multi-million-dollar multi-jurisdictional project that completed across your term. I've talked about that already. That's the green and blue. The amount of work that's been done in our planning department has just been monumental. We have adopted a new OCP. We had to deal with the small scale multi-unit and Bill 44 that was brought in. We had to pre-zone 3,300 units. We've adopted our downtown action plan in consultation with the BIA. We have modernized our DCCs and ACCs in order to make sure that development is paying for itself and that as units get added, we are not having to increase taxes on residents. We have done significant land acquisitions over in 1413 Balmoral to add permanent park protection in one of the largest park acquisitions the town has done in decades. Habitat for Humanity partnership on the old fire hall to help provide affordable housing. We have modernized our development process where applications can be submitted online, and we also keep that information online so interested residents can access all of that information in one easy to go place. Asset management, I've talked about. Long-term infrastructure planning. We have done with our master plan. Shelley talked about a few of them. On top of that, we've updated our sanitary master plan, our storm master plan, and our water master plan have all been updated during your term to give us a good picture of what level of investment is needed going into the future. Environmental stewardship. So across your term, we have finished our urban forest management strategy. We've adopted our tree retention policy. We have adopted Comox's very first tree protection bylaw. We have been focused on replanting trees in the areas that we can. We have, like I said, the largest parkland acquisition that Comox has had in decades has taken place. We have our bee and bat friendly communities. And can someone remind me, was it bat? We were the first on the island? We were first on the island to receive that, and you can see those bat houses. You can see those bat houses across the communities. We have strengthened our stormwater regulations. We have the strongest stormwater regulations in the valley. Council, you hear about it quite often from the developers because they tell you how much they dislike it. We have adopted climate resilient landscape standards so that when new developments come in, they are planting things that will withstand the droughts that we know are to come and reduce the amount of water consumption that we need. We have updated our erosion and sediment control bylaws, which again, council has heard from the developers and they tell you it's the toughest in the valley. I would agree. And the municipal facility upgrades that we had funded out of the net zero projects. We have received grants for accessibility. We've updated our website with the accessibility portals. We won an award for that. And then just the work that the fire department continues to do to supply us with a very, very cheap, modern fire protection. And you can see the success on that because Gord is constantly turning over recruits into the larger centers who get full-time fire department or full-time firefighter positions because they know the quality of training that they get when they come to Comox. Upgraded our parks. Like I said, $52 million in capital investments by the end of this year. And so I think, you know, at the end of a term, it's worth taking a step back and looking because it's easy to forget all the things that have been done. This has been a transformational term for council. We have put in a number of things that this town has needed for a long time, and they're there. And we can move forward, not saying that this is what has to happen, but we can move forward with the base documents that provide recommendations so the next council can come in and instead of having to start from scratch, they can start to amend the things that they want to. So just wanted to thank you guys for your service. Like we said, it was 121, I remember 21,000 pages of council agendas that you've had to read, and the time that you spent in council meetings and the time you spend in the community and the time you spend talking to me. So thank you for the work that you've done, staff. Thank you for the work that you've done to accomplish this. Everything up there was completed through your hard work. So that is my presentation. I'm happy to take questions if anybody has any.
Thank you, CEO Wall. You can take a breath for a moment. Thank you very much for preparing that presentation and being able to recognize the work that yourself and senior leadership has done over the last 4 years. I didn't realize it was that many council meetings, but that makes sense. I know in the first couple of years, it felt like we weren't getting traction. And I know in the last year or two, all of a sudden, there's just been so much coming to fruition and grants being received. And I really think that the modernization of the organization really has taken a full kind of turnaround. So thank you for bringing in those, I think it's $30 million of grants. That's all on staff, and that absolutely will translate to savings for our property tax payers, both businesses and residents. So thank you very much for that. And that was a lot to share. So I'll just see if any councillors have questions or comments for CEO Wall. Councillor Haslett.
Did those 21,000 pages include the 650 for tonight?
Yes, I believe they did.
Councillor Swift.
Yeah, no, I was just gonna say a big thank you to you, Jordan, because I think you've provided excellent leadership to both staff and council. And it was fantastic to see this because you do forget some of the things that have started at the beginning and have now come to fruition. So thank you very much.
And CEO Wall's been with us for about 5.5 years, so most of his time has been with this council, so thank you. Looks like there's no further questions. Again, thank you to CAO Wall for sharing our. We can allow that. And again, thank you very much to senior leadership for getting all of those grant funding in. I definitely have heard some discontentment from other areas who were not as successful in some of those grants. And I think it just shows how well written and how well planned they were. So thank you very much to senior leadership for making those important investments. Okay, so we are on page 250. We have zoning amendment. Oh, Councillor Swift.
I'm declaring a conflict of interest on this project because of a close personal relationship with the applicant.
Okay, we'll just wait a moment for you to depart, and then we will come grab you after. Noise I was looking for. Okay, so we're on page 250, zoning amendment bylaw number 2056.01 for 721 Lazo Road. On the table here, we have that zoning amendment bylaw number 2056.01 721 Lazo Road be given third reading, and that prior to adoption of zoning amendment bylaw number 2056.01, a restrictive covenant be registered on title identifying the provision of the following items to the satisfaction of the Director of Development Services prior to future development occurring on the property. Do we have someone that would like to motion to start the discussion?
Move that.
Okay, moved as written and seconded and for discussion. Councillor Mayor.
I can kick us off. I'll just share a little bit about my decision-making process, and then I'm going to propose an alternate recommendation. So I have to say this has been one of the most challenging and complex decisions I think that we've faced this term. There's so much passion and emotion on all sides about development, ecological conservation, and the impacts on neighbors. So I just want to start by thanking everybody who's participated in the process, including the applicants, including staff who have worked incredibly hard on this, community members, and the many people who shared expertise. We all have different decision-making criteria, and for me, my decision centers around stewardship. So my priority is to achieve the strongest ecological outcome reasonably possible, while recognizing the rights of the property owners and the limits of the tools available to local government. In my ideal world, this entire property would be protected in perpetuity, but unfortunately, that's not the decision before us. We're considering a rezoning application on private-owned land, and our responsibility as council is to weigh and determine if this proposal represents a reasonable balance of competing interests and trade-offs. So when I compare what could already happen under current zoning with what is being proposed, I believe it does represent a reasonable balance of trade-offs. The proposal adds only 2 additional lots with secondary units, while clustering development, which allows for the permanent protection of 65% of this sensitive and ecologically significant ecosystem as parkland. I want to sincerely thank the applicants for their willingness to make this dedication. It is a significant contribution to our community and to future generations. I also continue to believe that this is an environmentally sensitive area where ecological values and hazards deserve exceptional care. And for that reason, I would like to strengthen the process before final adoption. So I will be voting for this motion and would like to provide an alternative amendment to number 2. That the town retain an independent qualified environmental professional to review the proposal and confirm the development can proceed in compliance with applicable provincial and federal environmental regulations, and that final adoption be conditional upon the approval of all required development permits.
That was an amending motion, just to be clear.
Yes.
Perfect. I'll
Right.
second. Counselor Kerr, second. Just for clarification through staff, we will need to vote on the amending motion. Okay, so we're going to discuss the amending motion and then we'll vote on the amending motion. And then we go back to the regular. Counselor Hazlitt.
Well, thank you. Just curious, what would a cost estimate be for this independent Investa or this independent report? Do we have any sort of idea what kind of realm that lives in?
So what's being asked is to confirm the development complies with provincial regulations. I would estimate that it's going to be under 10,000. I can't guarantee it, but I would estimate that it is.
Okay, thank you very much.
Counselor Grant.
Would it not make more sense to do this and just have a statement at the end that makes sure that the no province or federal regulations are broken? Would that not make more sense to do it that way rather than paying somebody to come in and
It will
go
be
through all
up
that?
to each, I would say, counselor. So if you don't want that to be part of the motion, you could vote against it. Or if you're okay with it being worded of having an independent investigation with staff saying it's up to 10,000, it's just, that would be an individual counselor choice.
Okay,
I can't
I
state
don't,
everyone's opinions.
I don't really see the benefit in doing that, whereas if we just said no provincial or federal regulations to be broken, I think that that does the same thing, and we don't, like, I don't know who's gonna pay the $10,000, right? Like, we shouldn't be doing that. That's not our role in this.
Okay, the amending motion has it to be included by the town of Comox. So again, we'll just have a discussion on it and each counselor can weigh in on their own. Counselor Hazlitt. Next. Okay, other counselors on the amending motion. I'll just speak to it. This has been a very challenging file or property because of the ecological value of the sand dune and of the property. And I would say it's one of the very few development where we've had quite a few different opinions on each side, which makes it very challenging to come to your own counselor opinion on. But I very much appreciate Counselor Mayor's position on having the DBPs come or having all of the environmental information in first before the development permit is issued. And also I'm happy to have that internal cost to Town of Comox if it means we have that external stamp on the provincial and federal as far as oversight. So I'm very supportive of that. I will say some personal weighing in on it. Being a good neighbor to the CVRD was absolutely a lens. And I took off if it was all of Town of Comox or all of CVRD and that boundary line wasn't there, what would my viewpoint on this development be? And the park in perpetuity really was the main factor that we can control now today as our council. And while I didn't like all the civility behind some of the discussions, I think that it's a really great thing that we can potentially get over 3 acres of a park for these 2 lots and have oversight on the environmental side. So I would be voting in favor of the amending motion. Counselor Hazlitt.
How do we go about choosing the person or company that's going to conduct this independent report? Well, less than $10,000, $10,000 is nothing. Less than $10,000 is even better. It seems like a reasonable swap in the event that we can get a park, especially if the town's picking it up. So I can get behind that. But my biggest concern lies in no matter who we choose it's not going to be good enough. Time and time again, we've taken in reports. And again, if this helps move things along, it works with me. But time and time again, we've taken in reports from independent consultants or consultants who have worked with the developer or someone that doesn't want to see the development happen or whatever it is. And no matter what, somebody comes along and kicks a ton of holes into this. So I just want to make sure that in the event that we're picking somebody here, we really need staff, the public, us to understand that no matter who ends up writing these reports, there's going to be differences of opinion. And one of the last things I want to see happen is we get this report in, it says, this is great, maybe make this adjustment or whatever it is, and see town staff get ripped apart by the public because we're ignoring something that somebody feels is more important. That's happened a fair bit in this process. I can't stand seeing it. So I just really want to make sure that we're all wrapping our heads around that regardless of what happens with the report coming in, someone's going to be upset with the outcome of it, and we're going to have to make a decision based on that. That's my point on that. Again, like if it's less than 10,000 for a report and it allows us to get a 3-acre parcel of land that we can keep as a park forever to benefit the region, fantastic. In addition to a beach access, I'm all for it. But I just really want to make sure that we're all clear that regardless of what happens in this independent report, someone's going to be upset with it.
I can possibly just clarify or ask, but I believe it's to ensure that none of the provincial or federal regulations, like on the wildlife corridors or the eagle nest, it's to make sure that all guidelines are being followed. I don't think it's to do an analysis on whether the park is the right option. I think this includes
Fair
that.
enough. And I know that the DP stage, they've got to tick all those boxes to make sure that they've got VHOT's approval and they've got the approval from the province and there's the environmental. I just really need to make sure that, we're obviously all sitting here trying to do what's best for the community. I think Jordan said it the other day, the decisions we make today might not affect the community for 50 years, but I just really want to make sure the information we're getting is sound, and I want to protect our staff for when the decisions come up that we have to make them.
Fair. There's a lot of ifs in this scenario, but. So now would be the time if there's any clarifying questions too, to make sure we're all on the same page with what the motion is on the amending motion.
Did we have
Councillor Blackman.
do we have an actual list of the regulations we're going to put into the scope of this ask to a qualified environmental professional? Like, with the scope, it seems to me that the quality of the report will depend directly on the scope and the terms of reference provided to the potential firms who will do this. And, I certainly support, we want a second set of eyes or a second opinion. And we want to make sure as a council that we've crossed the T's and dotted the I's. But I'm just like Councillor Haslett said, I'm also concerned that the longer the more reports we get and the longer this drags on, the more we're kind of getting up the hopes that this is somehow going to end in this subdivision not proceeding. And I don't think that's fair to the applicants. After 9 years, and going around and around, it's time to move this file forward. For those who want to speak about ecological value, this property did have a value. It has been listed for 1,991 days prior to today. So it was available to the market to buy. A lot of the reasons why people wouldn't purchase is this uncertainty that we're dealing with at this table. So for me, I will support the motion, but I hope that it will finally move this ball forward and we stop kicking it back and forth because we're not helping anyone.
Councillor Grant.
Yeah, thanks. So the question for Jordan, I guess, is that, so what are the implications of this? Like right now, we're dealing with zoning, and what the zoning is actually doing is just laying out how large the lots can be and basically where they can go. When you get into the development permit, all of these things that you're talking about get done at that point, is my understanding. So we're going to be going through all of this anyway. So what would the implications of this be? Like, is there something that could really go wrong here, or is this just a safeguard? I don't know the answer to that.
So I think it would be both. Because you have zoning does not mean you can develop. You need to be able to get your development permits and you need to be able to get your building permits. And those are, you can't get your building permits until you've satisfied a condition of the development permit. So I mean, it's a question that was debated for a long time when council was reviewing your development application procedure. The zone, allowing council to take a look at zoning prior to development permits allows council to say, hey, this is something that we're interested in, or it's something that we're not. If I remind council of the development on Cedar, we brought that without development permits to find out, is this something you're even interested in? Council said no, so it saved a lot of time and money for the town, saved a lot of time and money for the applicant. Having said that, this law is complicated. There's certainly arguments to be said that locking in zoning prior to the development permits being sorted out may not end up in the best scenario. The thing is, you can go in two directions at that point. If the development permits indicate that there needs to be changes to the zoning, you amend the zoning at that time. Or what council's talking about doing right now is you have the development permits come in as a condition of zoning. So that shifts some level of the risk onto the applicant that they are going through with the investment required on the development permits. The way this is structured, though, is that council is saying the adoption of zoning is conditional on the approval of the development permits. It's really just where you want to sequence these things. At the end of the day, the development permits have to be issued before construction. If zoning comes before, that's a legitimate way to do it. If zoning is contingent on the development permits, that's a legitimate way to do it. But all of it has to be satisfied before construction can happen.
Okay.
Follow up?
Yeah. So my understanding is that this was sent to the province for review. And the province had come back with some advice, I guess, to say, here's what we would like to see. We've actually put that into play on all of this, have we not?
So
we're not circumventing anything the province had wanted, and they have looked at it, right?
yeah, correct. The province has been involved. Mary Taves, who is the senior ecosystem biologist for the province, was involved and had conversations directly with the applicant and Pacificus. The extent of those conversations I can't comment on. I've tried to reach out to find out from her what the extent of the conversations are, and I haven't heard back yet. But regardless, if council passes this motion, I think it would provide an additional safety measure to ensure that the development doesn't violate any provincial or federal regulations.
I'm just going to go either after Councillor Haslett or before, but I may have Councillor Mayer read out the amending motion one more time so we know what the two pieces are, so everyone's comfortable asking any questions they have. Councillor Haslett.
So with the DP following these environmental conditions being met, do we send, like, how do we confirm that the province and the feds have seen all the information, the biologists have seen all the information they need to make sure that these things have been met? Like, a big part of that development review process was getting the zoning ahead of the DP. And I think that's right. A big thing that what we're supposed to be doing here is looking to say, you know, is this a good spot for this to happen? Is this a worthy trade-off to get, I think exactly as Councillor Mayer had said, you know, we've got competing interests versus trade-offs. Are these trade-offs worth getting this park? That's where kind of we are at the zoning process. I just want to make sure that even though we're sending stuff along and we're doing everything that we're supposed to, and I know that staff has been doing that all along the way, I just want to make sure that, is the province send us a list back that says you've done this, or do they send us a checklist at the start saying do this and this and this and this and this, and once those are completed, they sign off on it? How does that process work?
Yeah, I think generally people think that the province's interest in development applications is larger than what it actually is. So the province is looking to make sure that environmental regulations are followed, and then they will provide advice on best practices. So the advice that was given in this instance was to ensure that the least amount of tree removal possible for the water main installation, and to try and maximize Garry Oak preservation and maintain the eagleness buffer, which this proposal has done the best that it can. Now, what will happen? I think one thing to understand is through the development permit process, the applicant would be required to show that their development doesn't violate any provincial or federal regulations. And if they were, it should also have been caught so far in their environmental review. What council is talking about is saying, hey, we are hearing things that are indicating that there might be something here. Let's make sure that it's being done properly with a third party independent review, which is what the motion is on the table. So it's not involving the province in a different way. It's saying the town will take an extra step to provide an extra level of safeguard to ensure that things are being done properly. This project has been reviewed to the province or referred to the province. The province has provided their comments. It likely would get referred again as we go through the development permit process. So this isn't whether or not the province gets included. It's whether or not council wishes to provide that additional level of safety into the process.
And then regardless of everything, unless DP conditions get met, they don't get a building permit.
And that's correct, right? Making the zoning conditional on DP issuance is a change in the steps, but it doesn't change the outcome. You have to get DP issuance before you can get a building permit.
Okay, if comfortable, I'll get you to read out the amending motion portion before we either continue the conversation or vote on the amending motion.
Yep, sure.
Thank you.
Yeah, and I'll just say too, like, I think in many ways, taking this step creates more certainty for a smoother process ahead by ticking some boxes that are unanswered questions for many people. So that the town retain an independent qualified environmental professional to review the proposal and confirm the development can proceed in compliance with applicable provincial and federal environmental regulations, and that final adoption be conditional upon the approval of all required development permits.
Thanks for rereading that. So it's the portion that is in our agenda package that we started with that as the amending motion. So if there's any further discussion on amending motion, Councillor Haslett.
So just to confirm, are we not, like, if we follow through with this motion, are we not issuing third reading for the zoning? We're waiting and pushing it further down the line?
We are.
So the motion right now, you're just voting on the amendment, and then you'll have the option to do third reading. So you can pass this amendment and still do third reading if that's what you wish.
It's good to ask clarifying questions. Thank you. Is there any other clarifying questions on the amending motion that's been read? Director Houle, did you want to speak? Or I'll go through to CAO Wall first. Director Houle had his hand up. CAO Wall, that's.
Sure, through your worship. Just as staff, I think I would want to better understand which legislation and which reports you would want the third party review on, because there's environmental reports, there's floodplain reports, geotech reports. What was the intention of the motion? Is it focused on the environmental assessment? Just that would help staff moving forward.
Yeah, I think the intention is to make sure and review that the development won't violate any issues along the coastal bluff ecosystem. So it'll be taking a look at that specifically.
Okay, with that, there looks like there's no further discussion. All those in favor of the amending motion? Opposed? And the amending motion passes unanimously. So we're now going to vote on the zoning amendment bylaw for third reading as amended. Is there any further comments on the motion as amended for third reading? All those in favor? Opposed? And that passes unanimously. Thank you. We will get Councillor Swift back. Thank you very much for the subdivision and development servicing bylaw is separate. Policy. We'll grab her back, and if she. Thank you very much, Bob, and everyone. We're just going to take a quick 2 to 3 minute break and we'll be right back. Okay, we're returning back. We're on page 262, the subdivision and development service bylaw update number 2065 for first, second, and third reading.
Move.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any discussion? All those in favor? Opposed? And that passes unanimously. There are no special reports for bylaw adoptions. We have page 541, the Aspen Hector Storm Pond 1 and Local Area Service Establishment bylaw number 2037 for adoption.
Move.
Moved and seconded. And for discussion, any questions? All those in favor? Opposed? And that passes unanimously. Under new business, we have the 2026 audit service plan that the August 5th, 2026 report from the Director of Finance titled 2026 Audit Service Plan be received for information.
Move.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any items for discussion on the audit service plan? All those in favor? Opposed? And that passes unanimously. Thank you. We have on page 569, the 2026 second quarter financial update that the August 5th, 2026 report from the Director of Finance be received for information.
Moved.
Moved and seconded. And for discussion, is there any questions on the second quarter financial update? All those in favor? Opposed? And that passes unanimously. And thank you to Director Henley for providing that quarterly report. On page 583, we have addition to permissive tax exemptions that the Comox Bay Sailing Association's new structure at the Comox Municipal Marina be granted a permissive tax exemption for 100% of the assessed value of the improvement commencing in 2027 until and including 2034, subject to the permissive tax exemption policy.
Moved.
Second.
That's been moved and seconded for discussion. Councillor Blacklock and then Councillor Hazlitt.
I thought we still approve annually the list, right, of municipal permissive
Over to
exemptions.
COL.
That's correct. This is just a new one that's coming in.
Okay, thank you.
So even with the 2034, it would still come up on our annual review list. Perfect. Okay, thank you. So an arbitrary 7 years. Councillor Hazlitt, did that answer your question?
That answered my question.
Okay. Any further questions on the Comox Bay Sailing Association permissive tax exemption?
It's
You're welcome.
immaterial, but I just want to look back to our finance department. I believe we provide permissive tax exemptions as per council policy for 7 years because that's the maximum allowable time, correct? No? Someone help me out.
That's correct. It was, I believe, originally 8 or 9 years and now a couple of years of.
But this goes in and it's got policy approval now for 7 years.
Yeah, the same
And-
date that all the other ones are
Yeah.
for.
So just not every year. It will not come back every year.
No. Maybe I'll let Director Henley answer that because we do have to pass the bylaw every year, but I think the idea is that council wanted to provide these so you're not reviewing applications. You're reviewing applications every 7 years. We have an update letter. Hey, has anything changed? If something's changed, we brought it to council, but otherwise it's assumed that they're automatically approved for the 7 years. Is that correct? That's correct. Great.
But they do go on the list that we review
Yes.
because we get the list and we are
And you
able to
have to
remove
pass
it with this.
Correct.
Okay, so we have the
Yep.
revoke option for all, not.
That's right.
specifically this one.
Functionally, what it means is that we're not requiring people to reapply unless something has changed.
Any
Have I
further?
confused
discussion?
everybody? Okay.
Okay, all those in favor? Opposed? I'm just gonna call the question one more time. All those in favor? Opposed? And that passes unanimously. We are on page 596. There is an analysis of changes in property tax deferment program participation that the August 5th, 2026 report from the revenue manager titled Analysis of Changes in Property Tax Deferment Program Participation be received for information.
Move.
That has been moved and seconded. And for discussion, is there any questions? That report did include our participation of people in the property tax deferment program, which I know some counselors were curious about what our participation was. And it does look like that participation is going down based on the new percentages that are being offered. So that is affecting the program.
33% lower and council, if people are telling you that they're on this, please highlight to them that the program has significantly changed and the cost is much different than it was before.
Will we put this out as an education piece now that it's made the agenda? Okay, good. I'm sure there are people that don't know this, so.
Yeah, we did before taxes. We're not going to do it right now. I'm next year when we get back into tax season, we will again. Yeah.
Any questions on the property tax deferment program to be received for information? Okay, all those in favor? Opposed? And that passes. And thank you to the revenue manager for providing that to us. On page 598, we have Aspen Hector Storm Pond 2 and Local Service Area Establishment Bylaw number 2068 for first, second, and third reading.
Moved.
Moved and seconded, and for discussion, any questions? All those in favor? Opposed? And that passes, thank you. We are on page 609. We have the Comox Golf Club liquor license amendment for 1718 Balmoral Avenue. The council provide comments on the request for a structural change to the existing Comox Golf Club liquor license at 1718 Balmoral Avenue as per attachment D of the August 5th council report, and that council directs staff to forward the comments to the liquor and cannabis regulation branch.
Moved.
Second.
That has been moved and seconded, and for discussion. Counselor Hazlitt.
I just want to confirm, is this, it looks like it's all here in the report, but I just want to make sure I'm not missing anything. Really, they're just looking to expand liquor sales into the pro shop. Is that all? Okay, perfect.
And that's just to be able to take out on the golf course, like one additional offering. So for comments, what length, if council is supportive of it, would we just say basically we're supportive and no concern, like it can be that short? Counselor Hazlitt.
Now, is this just being done as well as because you can't amend a liquor policy? Is that it?
Correct.
Okay, so really, we've already shown our support with them. It's just an additional.
Yeah, you can't amend the liquor permit. They have to submit a new one. You also have the request in from the golf course to waive the fee. We have a $2,000 application for one. We incurred $500 in costs because we have to do notification. So just something for council to consider.
As it's an amendment, I'd move that we collect $500 for the golf course to cover our fee and send our approval onto the golf course. Or onto the liquor board.
I'll second that. So for discussion, the amending motion is that we charge $500 versus the application cost is $2,000 and send a positive comment over, and that we have no concern. Seconded it for discussion. Yeah. Without any further discussion, we will vote on the amending motion. All those in favor? Sorry, did you have a question, Councillor Kerr? Okay, voting ready. Super eager. Okay, on the amendment, which is to lower the fee to 500, which is for staff time, all those in favor? And now on the amending motion to send positive feedback and no concern from council on that application, all those in favor? Okay, and that passes. Thank you. And thank you for being here tonight. We are moving on to page 625. We have the fire station replacement funding update. We've already heard that we were successful of the $5,000 grant. Sorry, way off. I'm going back to the 1920s or something. The $5 million grant funding, which was absolutely amazing announcement last month. Again, congratulations officially to Chief Schreiner and his team. That came as really exciting news after you had already broken ground. So very, very exciting. There are two items here. The council allocate an additional $150,000 from the Affordable Housing Fund to the fire station replacement project, in addition to the previously approved $100,000 for the units that will be there for the firefighters. And number two, the council authorize an additional $250,000 for the fire station replacement project through grant proceeds to incorporate project enhancements and additional scope items.
Do you want me to move one or one and two at the same time? I'll move one.
We'll move them one at a time.
Yeah, I'll move one.
Okay, so number one on the Affordable Housing Fund has been moved and seconded. Is there any questions or comments on that for discussion? All those in favor? Opposed? And that passes unanimously. And number two, that council authorized the additional $250,000 for the list of projects, including solar and a couple of the other upgrade items. There was a list there provided in the report.
I'll move that.
Second.
That's been moved and seconded. And for discussion, is there any questions or comments? All those in favor? Opposed? And that passes unanimously. And again, while we're on the fire department, I will just thank Chief Schreiner's team for all of the BC wildfire firefighting that they've been doing. There's lots of photos online of you across BC and up in the Okanagan. And so just a big thank you to your team who gives up a lot of time to be out on those structural units. I know our community really appreciates it. Anytime we post and share, people are very grateful for the work, and you're also bringing in revenue. So that makes these decisions a little bit easier to move through. So thank you, Chief Schreiner's team. We're on page 629, Knoll Avenue bike lanes on street parking concerns. There's the report that the Knoll Avenue bike lanes on street parking concerns report from the Director of Operations be received for information, and that council direct administration to retain the existing dedicated bike lane configuration on Knoll and Aspen, and further that council direct administration to monitor future grant opportunities that may support additional parking improvements in the Knoll Avenue area, where such improvements can be achieved without compromising the town's active transportation network, road safety objectives, or adopted transportation planning policies in place. Councillor Kerr.
Can I move that?
You may move that. Second. Okay, that has been moved and seconded for discussion. Councillor Kerr and then Councillor Haslett.
Yeah, so I I appreciate the delegation's comments about this. I really appreciated in the report as well the rationale for why the bike lanes were put in this area, given the level of service that this road provides, given that it's a connector. Also the interesting configuration of it, how it brings people right up from Guthrie down to the downtown in Comox. This afternoon, I actually ran the area and had a look, and there were many bikes actually out. There were actually a lot of big driveways on the road as well. And so ample parking. There were a couple of driveways that were smaller, but most of the driveways were quite big and could fit 3, 4, 5 cars, etc. And I really don't want to give the grant money back. I really don't want to have to pay to take these bike lanes out. This is part of a active transportation master plan for our entire community and the region. And I really do think, like we did with the Lazo decision, thinking about the greater good of the many people in the area versus, a few people that would be affected in the neighborhood. I think that also applies. That lens also applies to this. Yes, there are some residents that live along that street that are inconvenienced by this, but as a greater good for our community and connecting our downtown with the rest of our community, I think it's important that we keep these bike lanes as they are. And at the very least, we should let it go for a year, see how it works, and reevaluate next year. But I wouldn't want to see any changes to the infrastructure at this time. Thanks.
Thanks, Councillor Kerr. We'll go to Councillor Hazlitt.
Thanks. Just on the question of grants, when the town takes on a grant and then they do the work, and then if we were to tear it out not long after it was done, do you pay the money back, or how does that work?
I couldn't say for certain what would happen in this case. The grant wasn't only for the bike lanes, it was also for the sidewalk. I think the majority of the money was for the sidewalk, not the bike lanes, but I can say it was our 3rd or 4th attempt on this grant, and we did not get approved until we added the bike lanes into it. So I don't know.
I can absolutely understand what the neighbors are talking about. I mean, it does get hard. I think it's going to get even harder when you start seeing more of that small scale development. I mean, I don't necessarily disagree with Councillor Kerr that we can take a look at this in a year and see where it's at. But, it is a pretty well-traveled section, not only by vehicle, but also by bike. So if we could continue looking, got no other grants out there to remove bike lanes. Maybe in a year. I absolutely understand the plight of these residents. I think it does provide an important asset to the community. And there was something else, but it's missing right now.
Okay, we'll go to Councillor Mayer.
I'm happy to support the staff recommendation as somebody who has been a cycle commuter for much of my life and has had my kids riding. This kind of infrastructure really is a difference that makes a huge difference. That's why it's called All Ages and Abilities. I'm sympathetic to the folks along there who have lost some of their enjoyed parking. However, I will say I've lived in a townhome where I had to hike pretty far to my parking spot and schlep the groceries from far away. I've lived in an apartment where there was 0 parking provided, both for residents and for guests. And I think that we do okay here in Comox for having space for vehicles. So this to me is very worthwhile. I support our broader transportation plan, and I'll vote in favor.
Any other first-time speakers? Councillor Grant.
Yeah, I would have liked to have seen this had bike lane on one side of the road and not on the other. I think that, I go up and down that road probably more than any of you do, and I rarely see a bike on there. So I don't know where all these bikes are you're talking about. I saw 4 of them on there last night, and they were riding 4 abreast. That's how quiet that street is. So I would have liked to have seen that happen. It clearly isn't going to happen, but I would like to review this in a year and have a look and see what's going on, because if you start getting into these neighborhoods and you start putting schmoo in there, it's going to be chaos in there. So I think we jumped the gun. It would have been really nice to have gotten some of this out and had some information from those people before, but we missed that opportunity. But I totally understand where they're coming from. And they aren't asking for the world. They're asking for one side. which you could still have a Sharrow down one side. And I don't think you'd be putting anyone in grief by doing that. So that's just my thoughts.
We have had letters of opposition of them being removed. So there are people that definitely value the bike lanes. I will say we approved this plan at this council table. So we did review and we put in the infrastructure using the grant based on a plan that we saw. And so to go backwards, I don't think makes sense. It's a long-term vision that connects in with that Hector and Aspen area. And I think it would be a shame to put taxpayer dollars into reversing something that we've already put in that is kind of meant to be a future thinking aspect. I have walked around there 3 times in the last 2 weeks. There were tons of cycles, but again, the times that I went, obviously there's different times, but it is being actively used, and that neighborhood does have very long driveways where they have more options than in some of the new neighborhoods. So knowing that Shmoo is not seeing huge development now, I think we need to look at this as a connective road where we welcome walkers, bikers, and cars, and not the kind of rare occurrence that people unfortunately have guests coming over for parties, and that's the one inconvenience. So I'm very supportive of leaving it the way it is. Councillor Haslett.
I'm just wondering, did we miss something when we were letting the residents know, like, if we're going to change the way that the road's driven or ridden or traversed or whatever it may be, what's the notification program to the residents look like? Because I'm sure that we would have had more people out, quite a few of them said they came home and all of a sudden there was no parking. So did we miss something? Or I just want to make sure that in the event we're making adjustments like this to another neighborhood in the future, say in Foxwood or wherever else, that residents have enough kind of time to recognize what's going to be changing and have an opportunity to weigh in before it happens.
Yeah, we did 2 notifications out to the general community. It would have been during the transportation master plan, and it also would have been during our subdivision servicing bylaw. So people that came out for those would have seen it. But I think what this has identified for us is that when you are looking at these master plans, and within the master plan, there is a recommendation that is going to make a impactful level of service change on an area, we need to go the next step and tell people, hey, this is going to be discussed. This is what may happen. Please come out and participate in the process. So people were technically notified. Were they functionally notified? That no, I think it's something that we need to improve on.
So is that something that we should be voting on right now to make sure that we don't kind of miss that step in the future? While we do have these master plans that hopefully are all done, you don't get a huge chunk of the community that show up to them.
Yeah.
So it's easy to see how this would have been missed by the residents. Is that something that staff's just going to take on moving forward? We learned a lesson on this.
Yes.
Or okay.
Yeah, no, we've learned our lesson, and I need to take, I should have identified that, and I didn't, and I'll do better.
Some accountability. Thank you. That was, but yeah, we did go over the plan at the table, and it does sound like residents had a higher expectation for engagement. So I'm glad to hear that's been noted. Councillor Swift.
Thank you. I know when I heard the delegation that came, I was quite sympathetic to their issues. It's alarming when you have kind of a change like that overnight and you've been used to using the street as part of your property. And I thought, oh, we should just go back to the shared lanes. But having read the staff report and seeing the rationale and being reminded of the transportation study, I think it only makes sense to keep it the way it is. And so I will support this recommendation and really encourage us to look for the grants to, going forward, change, see if we can get something that will make some improvements for the street for the residents that have vehicles. So I'm in support of the recommendation.
Thank you. Are there any further discussions from around the table? So the current motion is to have them stay as they are and potentially review different options in future, but it would be staying at this time. All those in favor? Opposed? And that passes unanimously. Thank you to Director Ashfield and those who provided that follow-up report on the rationale for the placement. We are on page 638 under youth recreation. We have urban climbing boulder that council amend the 2026 budget to relocate $140,000 previously approved for the modular pump track project towards the purchase of an installation of an urban climbing boulder at Marina Park. I'm going to move it just for discussion, but I have some thoughts on that.
Second.
Kate moved and seconded. So I really like the concept. Director of Parks or Robbie, Parks Manager, sorry, brought these concepts in just in the last week or two, and he thought this could be a really exciting project that council could consider. I really like the price point. There was some options that were $80,000 that look quite appealing that could go at Marina Park. But I think at this time, we need to have it be moved forward to the next council and potentially look for grant funding or a Rotary, I shouldn't say Rotary, but service club where they may, you know, put in some grant funding towards it. Because I really do like the concept. I just think we can save on the $80,000 to $140,000, especially with what we saw we have gotten done this year. So that's my personal thoughts on it, is to move it forward as an idea to the next council in October. Councillor Haslett.
I love the idea of it. If it ends up at Marina Park or a different one of our parks, that's great. Obviously with Marina Park, we saw how jammed in it was over this last long weekend. Knowing the amount of expenses the town's going to incur in the next little while, I think that this should be kept out of our budgets unless we can get grant funding for it.
Maybe just a follow-up question, because we're kind of saying a similar thing. Is it possible to have it part of a budget with the asterisks of partial or full grant funding and counts? And if there was a grant opportunity, it would be brought back to whichever council, ours or a future.
Yeah, I don't think you need to pass a motion for that. We are always on the lookout for additional grants that will come in, recreation grants. And so we know council's considered a concrete bike park. You've considered pump track. You have this in. So when we do have a recreation grant that does come available, we have 3 shelf-ready projects now. Well, the skate park we need land for, but we've got 2 shelf-ready projects now.
Thank you. I think it was Councillor Swift and then Councillor Grant.
Thank you. I'm really very supportive of this. And one of the goals that we had been talking about for the last 4 years was to get some youth recreation. And we haven't been successful because we were waiting for the grants. So I'm happy with the recommendation as it stands. And I'm really pleased that it's going to have a broader appeal. So there's young kids and teens and adults that could make use of this. I think Marina Park's a great spot for it. So I'm very excited about this and would be in full support.
Thanks, Councillor Swift. Councillor Grant.
Okay, so I'm just wondering, because we have a motion on the table right now that says to do it, and it says to reallocate the funds, which are already in the budget. So if we want to move that out and then say only if we get grant money, I think we've got the wrong motion on the table is my point, right?
Yeah, I
I'm
put
not
it
sure-
for
I'm not-
discussion.
yeah, I'm
You
not
can
sure
vote,
how-
if you want it to be grant funded, you would vote against it because CAO Wallace said he doesn't actually need a motion for that. So if you're wanting it to be partial or full grant funding, you would vote against the motion to do it now with funding.
Yeah, it's just that, like, this has been on the table as a pump track for, well, this goes back 3 terms now, and we always had it by grant funding, and all of a sudden now it's here and now we're just reallocating. So it's changed. And so I'm not saying I don't trust CAO Wall, but somehow this thing keeps appearing and it changes. So I don't want that to happen anymore. I want it to be clear what we're doing with it. And I'm not sure that it is right now.
To be fair to staff, it was actually council that's made many decisions about, we had it actually to be fully done by council. Then we went to grant funding, and then we did put modular pump track funding in the budget, and then we decided not to. So for full clarity, I can recall 4 council decisions based on tax rates and other factors.
I
So
mean, all of that's fine.
I just want to make sure that it's
I
clear
just
that it's
wanna
been
be-
council.
I just want to be super clear what we're doing because it's changed several times.
Correct. But
So,
that is
I mean,
because of council.
I don't care who it's because of. I just want it to be clear what we're doing.
So council, right now, you have the 150,000 in your budget and Mayor Minion's right. This has been a little bit like the hokey pokey. It's been in, it's been out. Having said that, if council decides not to move forward with this project, staff will not be bringing forward any more youth recreation opportunities for this term. And if you don't want to be discussing it next year in your budget, don't include it in the budget. Like that's, and then we'll just chase grants.
Councillor Mayor and then Councillor Haslett, I believe.
Given that this is already in the budget, and given that we've had so many attempts at trying to deliver some kind of infrastructure for youth, we engaged youth on this before my term. So I'm really stoked about it. I think it's a great compromise, and I'm happy to support it.
Councillor Haslett, and then no, Councillor, I see some like maybe hands everywhere. So Councillor Kerr.
I agree with Councillor Swift and Mayor. I think we did make a promise to the youth to bring them something. I think we should bring them something, but before the end of the term, this is a good option. It's cheaper than the bike pump track, whatever options that we looked at before. It could be easily installed, quickly installed. And again, it would add to the Marina Park atmosphere. So I'm in favor.
Thanks. I love the idea and I'm really grateful that a new option has come forward, but I think it's one of those last term, we have the money, so kind of throw it and it sticks, and it just feels slightly too fast in the last kind of week of decision making on this. And I think 140,000 is still 1% on our tax budget, and we are passing rates that none of us have been comfortable with. So super supportive of youth recreation. We're going to talk about some possible grant funding youth recreation projects offline with the Rotary Club. So there's still one more thing coming this term with sports box refurbishments, which we can bring to youth and teenagers specifically. But I think it can be more planned out and really intentional with the funding on this. So I'm absolutely not against youth recreation. I just want it to be the right project at the right time. Was there a comment on the side of the table?
So
Councillor Grant.
I guess the issue that I'm having with this is not, I mean, I love the concept. I think it would be great to have. But I think that we have huge tax implications coming in the next year. You start looking at the RCMP, and if we, just the 20% alone is going to bump us up by a good 5%, and then add officers and all of that. And that's before we do anything. When we start, like, we're going to be looking at anywhere between 10 to 15 to 20% for taxes. And if you can take this and lower your tax by 1%, and the next item, by the way, and lower your taxes by 2%, I think that that's going to be what we end up doing in the next term, is trying to find ways to solve. So for me to go and spend this money today, knowing what I know is coming, I find that problematic. So I like the idea of doing it with the grant funding, but I have a hard time doing it now while I know what's coming in the future. And so, you know, we're going to be sitting around scrambling next October trying to get or whoever trying to get a budget that can fit. And here we are just spending the money like always. And I think that we need to be way more careful about what we're doing, especially in this day and age. So that's my thoughts.
Councillor Swift.
Thank you. I understand the need to be watching every bit of money that gets spent, but I'm just wondering, and I guess this is a question for the CAO or for our finance officer, at 1% on an average tax bill, if we were to save this 140, what difference would it make to the average homeowner?
So the 1% in taxes is about $16, and it's about 120,000. The way we have been paying for infrastructure, though, is that you're saving for its replacement cost, not its purchase cost. So in this case, the replacement cost on this adds, I believe, somewhere 75 cents. It's in the report, about 60 cents or 75 cents onto the tax bill. The question that we're going to have to grapple with, or in the next term is going to have to grapple with, is that we are likely looking at having to borrow for infrastructure replacement. So $150,000 spent now will cost you the 60 cents, but will also mean you're going to have to borrow $150,000 more in the future. And so you'd have to factor that into it as well. But the immediate impact for next year would be, I'm saying 60, if somebody's got that report open, might be 90. Sure, yeah.
We'll just move on, and just any new comments on this, and then we'll look to move forward. Councillor Kerr.
Question for staff, that this is already in the budget for a tax rate that we've already set, so wouldn't necessarily affect next year's tax budget. Is that correct, or am I wrong on that?
Yeah, because council didn't, what we've been doing is as new infrastructure is approved, you have the associated tax rate. So although you set the money aside in your budget to have it there to spend, you did not do the associated tax increase because there was no project. So it's, I just took a look, it's 80 cents and it would go on to the increase that you need next year.
Okay, so we're going to move to vote. And so it is, if you vote in favor, it would be going forward without grant funding. If you vote against, it's because you're not in favor of it going towards grant funding. And I just want to remind everybody that we are still working on a sports box refurbishment, which we'll be talking about, and a new sports box. And the pump track is still very much what youth have said they want. And so when we're looking at allocating funds, this potentially could be going towards something that youth have said they wanted, as far as a basketball, lacrosse box, or a pump track. So there's future potential. All those in favor of 140,000 or up to 140,000 for the climbing boulder? And opposed? And that is, I can't do my math, that is defeated. I just want to thank CAO Wall and Parks Manager Robbie for bringing that as an option. I think it was a very good idea and a very cool concept. So thank you for bringing that forward, and future councils can determine what youth recreation budget should look like. Councillor Grant.
So just to be clear, if we do nothing, this stays in place, comes out of the budget, and then we get grant money or some other form, is that?
Over to
is that what we
CAO
do
Wall.
with it right now? Okay.
That's correct. So this money will go back into our general reserve. And if council wants to consider it, you'll have to put it into your budget next year.
Just for clarification, though, this was to reallocate. So it is still sitting in funding under modular pump track at this time. We didn't
Correct.
say to
So
put
it
back in
will-
general reserves.
No, it'll go back to at the end of the year, the unspent money will go back into our general reserves.
But we will remember all the decisions we made around youth recreation.
And just to be very precise, we have now adopted a policy that funds different reserves. And so that will go into the reserves as per policy. It could be general, it could be some of our other ones, but it will go into reserves.
Okay. Thank you. We're moving on, looks like around the same page. Notices of motion. I have a motion on the table that council consider support of up to $100,000 or 34%, 1/3 of the population from the town of Comox unspent public safety budget to support the MICR, or Mobile Integrated Crisis Response Pilot Program, for its second year, conditional of the city of Courtenay participating and paying the other 66% of the municipal contribution required to continue pilot through 2027 while we advocate for provincial funding. I'll make the motion.
Second.
Thank you. So for discussion, this background came from speaking with the city of Courtenay and Inspector Mercer. They're really not able to continue this pilot program if it's not municipally funded at this time. Very well knowing this is something we need the province to be stepping in and paying for. There's been really good momentum in our community of the support that it's doing for ER. I know they said the visits actually went up, but it's because they're helping people that haven't been seen and that are hidden in their homes. And so across the province, this program is being offered in communities and seeing really great successes in the future years. And it would be a shame after all of our councils, I know MLA Day was a part of the advocacy for it. If we lose momentum on keeping this funding, it would be, I think, a real shame. And we do have the 100,000 sitting in the unspent public safety budget for policing specifically. So again, this is not adding to our tax rate. It's using unspent police funding. I think Councillor Hazlitt has his hand up first, and then Councillor Grant.
So two parts to this. I think this is a fantastic program. I love supporting it. I'm wondering if we can, like, if it's conditional on Courtney, can we not reach out to Cumberland and the areas as well and just say, can you guys put some money into this as well? I'm not sure if that's a conversation at your level or if it's a conversation at CAO Wall's level, but it would be really great if we could get some buy-in from the CBRD as well as Cumberland on this to help reduce the cost. After all, it is a provincial matter that we have been fighting for and really hoping that we'll take it on. The project's great. The other thing I wonder is, even though we do have that money in that unallocated funds from the RCMP, what's that going to look like when we go to buy down officers or a new police station? What is that even going to make a dent? Is it like, where does it all sit?
A new police station could be in like the $50 million range. So unfortunately, it's two separate items, but I'll go to CAO Wall for comment.
$100,000 is $100,000. It's not a small amount of money. Unfortunately, $100,000 is a small amount of money. The bill that we're going to be looking at for the RCMP stations alone is likely, our portion, 34%. That will go down as Cumberland comes online. So let's say 25% of 50 million. So $100,000 is obviously nice to have in the bank. It'll make it a little bit easier, but it's not very much compared to what's going to be needed moving into the future.
And then with respects to getting the other areas in Cumberland involved in this?
CVRD, I don't think you're going to have much luck because they don't have the service required to be able to contribute to this. You'd have to go to their grant and aid service. And I suspect that they wouldn't be willing to fund the, you know what, that's outside of my wheelhouse. Maybe the CVRD would be able to fund it or be willing to fund it out of their grant program. Cumberland, you could certainly ask, but I know Cumberland is very concerned about how they're going to deal with their police right now.
I just get worried that
It could be an amending motion if you wanted to have the letter sent, but I have a feeling with the timeline crunch, it's either that would be part of the next year funding for provincial funding is how do we get the electoral areas in?
It rolling over and over and over. Next thing you know, we're going to be 5 years down the road, 500 grand of continuing to push into MICR, which again is a fantastic program, but it's provincial. It should be funded provincially. And this is, as Councillor Grant said time and time again, the downloading that comes on the municipalities.
Would you like to make it that it's a final year of pilot funding?
I would. Yes, I would.
I really think we need to say, I'm very supportive of this second pilot year, but I really do think it should be provincially funded. And I might not be factual, but I've heard that other communities do have provincial funding for both the VHA or the mental health
If
person.
it's a matter of us jumping in a vehicle and driving 3 hours south to Victoria to preach this, then great. Like to make an amending motion that this is the final year of the pilot project for the MICR program.
Or Town of Comox. Knowing that future councils can make their decision, but the message is this is really meant to be a fill 12 months.
Yeah.
Okay. I will second that as an amending motion. I'm fine with that change. Councillor Grant.
Well, that's what I wanted to know. I wanted to know when this is going to end because I know how these things go, right? They come and 5 years from now, we're still throwing 100 grand in and the pilot project's never ended. The other, and I mean, this is it's a good program and I think that your motion is really good, but I just wonder, like, if you suddenly stop it, how does that go? Right? Like, I don't know how that would even work, but I guess that gives us a year to figure out with the province how they're going to fund it. So I would be good with that.
Okay, and I will say, like, we supported it on the first round, but we didn't specifically kick in financial funding. So this $100,000 would be a first and last with the amending motion, just to say, you know, the program is great, but this will not be municipally funded. We already pay into our CMP, and I'm very fine with that messaging. Councillor Mayor.
Yeah, I just want to say that I'm supportive of us providing financial support, and I think that we use it as leverage when we're talking to the province. It shows that we are really committed to the success of the program, and but yeah, I really hope that we're successful in getting ongoing funding.
That's a good point as far as buy-in of a partnership in some way. Councillor Haslett.
Can we, I don't know if this needs to be after, and it probably should be, but direct staff to discuss with the MLA and the surrounding communities to go down to Victoria afterwards and discuss this, and not just sit and wait and hope.
I believe we actually have a request at UBCM to talk about policing with a couple of those issues, including this one. So I think that's already in motion. In
And I'm absolutely in support of that. I think UBCM is a great spot, but a big thing with UBCM is getting a lot of these northern communities that never have the opportunity to get down to Victoria, whereas we can simply get into a vehicle and drive down there and have a lot more than 15 minutes when we're trying to jam a bunch of stuff onto them. So I think it's really important that we start using our geographic location to get down to Victoria to really advocate for our communities. And I think that this is a really good place that we can start doing it.
Perfect. So just for clarification, is that something that you would want not council to be a part of, just with timing of the next few months?
Yeah,
Or so
correct. Like it doesn't matter who goes down there. I just think that there needs to be some coordination between the 3 Cs in the areas, and whether it's the CAOs or the mayor and the CAOs or the directors or whatever it looks like. I just want some representation of Victoria pushing forward on this.
just for, thanks for the specifying. There was going to be a police committee when we had a meeting with the other communities and all CAOs, including First Nations CAO, and there was going to be a meeting moving forward, like basically like a policing task force where everyone in this area is able to advocate. So it sounds like that's possibly within that, but I'll go to CAO Wall to see if that's true of that meeting.
Yeah, so we are meeting on August 12th. This is to form the required committee to start moving forward towards the RCMP detachment. I do agree with Councillor Haslett that we have the opportunity to be advocating in person in Victoria a lot more often than we do. I know that there has been talk amongst both elected officials and staffs regarding UBCM and shared meeting attendance on items of shared interest. We are all still waiting for those items to come back. What I would suggest that we do is when we go into the UBCM meetings for this, we make our pitch and introduce the topic to the minister, and that our request coming out of it is that they grant us an in-person meeting in the future, like in the near future, where we come down, and then we bring a delegation of representing the valley. So I think this is absolutely doable, and I think that you can use UBCM as a springboard to get that meeting.
Do you require a motion for that to happen, or are we good?
No, it's just whoever is leading that meeting at UBCM, which would be one of the elected officials, just needs to make that request.
Noted. Okay, so the motion on the table is as written with an amendment that we need to vote on, that it would be a one-time only final year of funding from the town of Comox, being specific to this request that would be sending over to City of Courtenay with RCMP being aware. All those in favor of the amending motion? So the amendment is unanimous, and voting on the motion as amended. All those in favor? Opposed? I'm just going to do that one more time. All those in favor of the amending motion? Councillor Blacklock. Thank you. I am not telepathic. Thank you. Okay, we're on to correspondence. Thank you for that. I think that's a great way for us to continue the conversation, and very appreciative of that. We are on page 642, correspondence. We have a letter from the City of Cold Lake in regards to their payment in lieu of taxes. And so I will motion to receive the letter.
Receipt. And is there
Seconder.
so is there going to be any further action if we just receive?
We're going to have discussion in a moment.
And then So could we add that now?
Yeah, let's just move and let's do
All right.
so it's been moved and seconded and now for discussion, and it looks like CAO Wall might have had something. No. Okay, Counselor Grant.
Well, we've done this before and we were successful. We actually got quite a bit of money, but then what they do is they depreciate this. And this is a really big deal to the federal government. This is not a very simple thing like you might think. Because what happens with it is it goes to anywhere that they collect PILT across Canada. So if we get a 20% bump, that's across Canada and it's a big deal to them. So they bring the troops in when it's time to get into this. So you have to be prepared for that. But I think that we could, and I'm just trying to read this and figure out how we could, like we've received it, but I wouldn't mind receiving it and joining them in their actions for PILT.
I was thinking, as far as our first meeting with the new wing commander Ian Pearl that's coming in August, that would be like a top item, but it sounds like we actually probably need to get together with all of the other bases. And I know
Mhm.
Director Cole Hamilton is on a task force with FCM where it's connecting all of the military communities. So it's kind of two-part. I think we need to be involved with that committee, and we also need to start the new relationship with the new wing commander, being that PILT is one of the top things that we want to discuss with them, because I agree with you. It's very large on the scale of how much it would affect our community's tax rates.
Well, especially with all, like, I'm not clear either with the new people that they're bringing in and the housing that they're building. Are we going to be able to collect PILT on a bunch of that too? Or I don't know if that's the case or not. So,
What is a recap?
and what would it be? Because the way they depreciate every time and it gets worse and worse and worse for us every year, right? And that's the big problem here. So I would like to.
But in past years, they were shrinking, where now they're growing. So that's the
Yeah,
hope, is
so-
that we have a
so we
new
may get
new
a-
grounding.
But yeah, but I mean, it still comes out negative for us. Had they gone the other way where they grow like everybody else does, they shrink. So, but I wouldn't mind, and this motion is fine, but I would like to have some other motion I can't put it together in my head right now, but just that we meet with whoever it is that we have to meet with from Ottawa to talk about this. And you have to actually put a proper complaint in with them to do this, right?
I'm just going to go to CAO Wall for comment, but I would say some kind of staff report with the recommendation so that it's in our records for the next council would be my suggestion, CAO Wall.
It is on my list of things to do to reach out to the CAO of Cold Lake and to start these discussions and to start understanding what is happening, get into PILT. So council, this is not going unnoticed. I really appreciate that Cold Lake has sent this out. I think, you know, so often we receive correspondence from other municipalities that has no impact on us. So to finally get one, it felt like getting a handwritten letter in the mail, which you never get anymore. So I will be reaching out. I believe that we need to develop a network of CAOs that are in the same spot and start to understand this and move forward collectively. So I don't know what we will have as an outcome. I don't know when it will be time to report back, but I can tell you this is something that is very high on my radar because I understand the fiscal implications for Comox moving forward.
Thank you. So it sounds like that's still all under receipt, but CAO Wall has spoken to how he will be escalating that on his end. Councillor Haslett.
Thanks. Could there be negative effects to us going down this path with the investment from the feds coming into the base as we look to negotiate money for infrastructure and housing and potential recreation? Could we potentially receive a quite large slap on the wrist for going into this?
The decision making at the federal government level and the Department of Defense is so unknown to me. I couldn't comment one way or another. I would lean towards no. PILT is an overall really, really large decision that they make for all federal land across the country. So I don't think that they would look at that. But I also don't know the different decision makers and in the different departments and who's doing what. I suspect that the people dealing with PILT have no connection to the people who are dealing with the regional investments in the base, but I can't guarantee you that that is the case.
Thank you. I think it's something to consider. I looked at the same thing, that base and the mayor may not have the same relationship where we seem to be in a good place right now. So something to consider for sure. So on receipt, all those in favor of receipt? Opposed? And that passes. Thank you. We are on the last piece of correspondence. There was not. Staff is going to bring it back to us, knowing the importance. Is that comfortable? Okay, thank you. We're on page 645. We have a letter from the town of Lake Cowichan requesting for support through a letter for an Elect Respect pledge. We have received this from other communities also. I believe City of Courtenay was looking at this. There is some online information where people can choose to take the pledge or read about it. I believe from past discussions that might have been offline, we were just kind of receiving it and everyone had their own decision on how to manage it. But if there is, we'll move receipt for discussion, I guess, sorry.
Sorry.
Moved and seconded, and for discussion, I'm quite happy to receive it and again provide the information to everybody. I think unfortunately we can all say that we're going to elect respect, but we see from just public discourse and online we can't force everyone else to. So thoughts, is there anyone from council that wants to do anything other than receive? Councillor Mayer.
I'd be happy to put forward a motion that we more officially make the pledge. And I think we all are really great at how we are with each other. And I would expect that to continue for those who are running. But knowing that we're going to have lots of new folks running, and also seeing kind of growing escalation of, maybe I'll call it incivility, and really, unfortunately, attacks on staff. I feel that the community would benefit from us taking the leadership and actually adopting this. So I would like to move a motion that we will also adopt the Elect Respect pledge and commit to its principles, which I can read if that is helpful.
Oh, sorry, I was going to say if I don't think it requires a notice of motion, but it would at least be helpful to have the little 5 or 6 bullets there on page 650 read out briefly.
Yeah, if people want a notice of motion, we could always postpone it. But the bullets that are there are: treat others with respect in all spaces, public, private, and online. Reject and call out harassment, abuse, and personal attacks. Focus debate on ideas and policies, not personal attacks. Help build a supportive culture where people of all backgrounds feel safe to run for and hold office. Call on relevant authorities to ensure the protection of elected officials who face abuse or threats, and model integrity and respect by holding one another to the highest standards of conduct.
Okay, thanks for reading out.
I'll second that.
Okay, moved and seconded. Are there any further discussion before we pass that the town of Comox support the Elect Respect pledge? Councillor Kerr.
I think I've been a little bit disheartened lately about the public discourse. I think this table has really displayed really good decorum and behavior over the last 4 years. We have very different views. We vote differently. There's a lot of 4-3 votes, but we have really good, respectful discussions around the table, outside this chambers. But lately, especially on some of the issues that were discussed tonight, there's been some, I don't know if it's because it's election season or not, or if it's around this specific issue that we discussed tonight about the Lazo development. But there's been a lot of public misrepresentation of the facts, lack of understanding of the limitations of what municipalities can do, and what council can do and what can't do. There's been denigration of our town staff and our CAO and planning department, name calling, profanity, meanness, just frank meanness, and a lot of whipping up public discontent towards council, and worse, towards the public servants that work for the town. And this misinformation causes a feedback loop, especially online, and people with less information are now making inferences based on half truths. and I'm sick of it. And I think it would, I think it would really say a lot to the public if we voted for this and said, we as a council with very different views, with very different voting patterns this term, agree to elect respect, and we respect each other, we respect the public, and we respect other candidates in the upcoming election. And I think setting that tone would be a great thing to do now.
Thanks for those comments on that. Any further discussion on electing the pledge that was read out? Okay. All those in favor? Opposed? And that passes unanimously. Thank you. And thank you for those words. I've lost my place in this gigantic agenda. We are, yeah, so there's no late items. We will go to reports from members of council for any items that you've been to more on the education front. We'll start with Councillor Blacklock and then go around the table, please.
I have nothing to report this week other than a fabulous, sun-filled, exciting Nautical Days weekend, and I hope everyone had a great time. Remember, Float Your Boat Friday is still going on. We've got 3 or 4 more left. And yeah, so this Friday at noon at the former Lauren Hotel site.
Thank you, Councillor Swift.
Thank you. I have nothing new to report, but really enjoyed both Nautical Days and the Philburg Festival and Float Your Boat. So I think it was a great festival weekend, and I was very proud of the way the town looked and the way people conducted themselves. So thank you.
Councillor Haslett.
I had the Stair board meeting before they sent me out for an in-camera. They had some pretty good conversations with the executive director, Ian Kalina, who's been really diving into a lot of operational oversight there. He said they're consistently looking for ways to offset the building costs to make it cheaper on the town. They're looking for grants on their end. They are trying to do whatever they can to really help preserve the strong relationship that the Stair has with the town, including their increased fees that are showing really positive results, and that feedback from the members is pretty good. One thing that they are looking to do is have an ongoing meetings between the executive director and potentially CAO, or executive director and the CAO, potentially the mayor and the liaison as well, whether that be 3 times a year or quarterly, just so they can stay ahead of changes that the town might have, or operational changes, or if they need to at some point find a new building. And then festival weekend, as everyone says, large hit. Personally, I want to thank Councillor Kerr, the board that sat with our Nautical Days, the volunteers and sponsors, as well as our executive producer, Mark Berkey, did a fantastic job, as well as our very own Bob Bowen, who spearheaded the eco team this year, and I swear he slept there. So yeah, it's super exciting to see how well the public receives those. I look at those events as both Philburg and Nautical Days as a big thank you to the community, and I think they ran exceptionally well this year.
Yep, a couple more thank yous for on the backs of festival weekend. Thanks to the Philburg Heritage Society and Linda Trevor and all the work that they did collaborating with the town on and the Nautical Days Committee. Thanks to the chair of our Nautical Days Committee, Councillor Haslett, who did a great job leading us over the last 12 months. And that's right, that's right, and the parade as well. Was a success, and I just want to thank, especially lastly, the town staff, Public Works Department, and our Parks Department, just making the town and our parks look just so amazing all week. And people that we ran into from the town and visiting were just impressed with how beautiful our town and parks look. So thank you, town staff.
Yeah, I thought I had the weekend off, and then I realized that I had my servant right, so I ended up down at Philburg for the entire weekend serving people. And before that, I was in Logan Lake, so I have nothing to report.
I also have nothing to report except for a huge appreciation to everybody who supported another wonderful festival weekend. Thanks.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you, everyone. I know everyone was very busy with the festival weekend and doing different MC roles and volunteer roles, so thank you for that. We're going back a little ways, but the Legion turned 100 last month, and they had a celebration on July 18th. And they just wanted our local Comox Legion, which is back up during the weekends, just wanted me to remind everyone that it is a free membership for this year. So I joined and got an online card, so I can enter there now as a member. And they are doing meat draws again on the weekends, Friday, Saturday, and they have some party happening on Friday where I've been convinced to sell meat at the mere tickets to the meat draw. It'll be my first meat draw. But congratulations to the Legion who turned 100. They have a new executive coming in, and they're looking at kind of reinvigorating our Comox Legion there. So you can become a member free for the remainder of the year, and I encourage everybody to do that, council, staff, public, if you're interested. The Destair had their 50th birthday party in the park, which they got some grant funding for, and there was a couple hundred people that came out to that. So there was music, I think it was the Optimists from memory, but they played for a straight 4 hours for people, and there was a lot of people out there dancing, and there was a small beer garden. And just congratulations to Destair, to Chris, to Ian, to the whole group there for having a really fun party in the park. They did a great job making it all ages and very open to the public, and that kind of finalized their 50th year celebration. So it was very exciting to see. We have announced a new Sunset Cinema that's coming up from Coastal Community Credit Union on August 14th. So that's not this Friday, but next Friday. They're playing Goat in the park, the movie Goat, whichever that may be. And the last cinema, which was a different group, but was very well attended, was just a couple of weeks ago. And we thank the Comox BIA for bringing us that first movie. And now we have a second one coming on August 14th. This week, we're announcing the Comox Music in the Park. It's the 6th annual Music in the Park. It's going to be on Sunday, September 6th from 1 to 5:30, and there'll be a handful of musicians announced soon for that series. So we have 4 more Float Your Boat Fridays, as Councillor Blacklock mentioned, and then we have our annual Music in the Park down at Marina Park? Marina Park on Sunday, September 6th, which is the long weekend from 1 to 5:30. So we're seeing a lot of music in Comox, and we're hearing a lot of good feedback about people coming from Courtenay and other areas into Comox, and businesses seem to be really happy. We're hearing great feedback about new people coming into retail stores. So that's very exciting for us to hear. Comox is the party town. I'm not sure if I'll go that far, but very different than a decade ago. So that's great. Thank you again to everybody. I don't believe there's any media questions. Are there any public questions? All eyes. Okay, with that, we are going to move to go in camera at 7:04. If I can get a motion.
Moved.
All in favor of going in camera? And thank you so much to those in attendance and to senior staff. Thank you so much.